A special thanks to Glock for their continued reliability, and a special thanks to the NYPD, Nassau PD, and all the other law enforcement branches and first responders that continue to support Long Island Outdoorsman. This video is to inform all of you guys about a Glock Blue Label program. Many of you may not be aware of what it is, and basically it's a discount program offered from the manufacturer Glock that is going to be about $75 to $100 off suggested retail on pretty much every Glock. There may be some exceptions on certain models that aren't available in a Blue Label, but I would say the majority of the models that you would normally be able to buy are eligible for a Blue Label program. Especially the most popular models like the 19, the 17, and the 26, which we stock at all times. There's a pretty extensive list as to who will be eligible for the program, and it's going to include all law enforcement, peace officers, first responders such as EMT and firemen, those of you in the armed forces, reservists as well, state-approved security guards, and this may be one or two other credentials that I'm missing, but the list could be viewed on the Glock website, and I'll include a link to the video in the description below the video so that you can see it for yourself. And what's nice is it also covers retired, as long as you have a retired ID with the photo on it. Basically what happens is when you come into our shop to take a look at our Glock selection, you're going to see that some guns have a blue highlight mark on them to indicate that they're what they call as a Blue Label, okay? And the Blue Label basically came from the fact that all those Glocks have a blue sticker on the box to indicate that they're that special Blue Label program, okay? Those guns that are marked Blue Label cannot be sold to civilians. All right, those basically are like a special promotion type of gun that can only be sold to law enforcement. All right, and the reason is because every time we sell one, we have to forward over the credentials and a form to prove that we sold the pistol to the correct person. Okay, it's basically a checks and balance system. The differences between the guns, other than the price difference, is basically nothing. The trigger pull is exactly the same. They both come with a 5.5 pound trigger. However, when I put them on the trigger pull scale, in actuality, it's really closer to about 8 or 9 pound trigger pull. I mean, unless my scale is not calibrated properly, I was getting pretty consistent pulls in about the 8 pound range to 9 pound range. Okay, with the commercial Glock and the Blue Label Glock literally being exactly the same, no difference. The sights are the same. The guide rod and spring configuration is exactly the same. What you may notice on Blue Label Glocks is they're typically always going to be sold with the highest capacity available. So if it's a Glock 17, most likely the Blue Label version would be a 17 round mag, where here in New York State we have a 10 round capacity maximum for civilians. The commercial Glock 17 that we would sell will come with a 10 round magazine. I mean, that's pretty much just a state requirement, so that's going to fluctuate by your state that you're shopping in. As far as availability, there is a very small distribution network that we're able to get these Blue Label Glocks from. And time to time there is shortages. Typically when one shop in the area is out, most likely all the shops in the area are out, and Glock tends to pump out the Blue Label guns in large batches. So I would say if you find one in a shop, put it on layaway right away, get a deposit down on it and hold it. Don't pass up on them, because sometimes if you miss out on your opportunity to get that gun, you may have to wait a couple weeks for the shop to reorder. Another reason why I would suggest not to hesitate on the gun if you find it in stock at the shop is because they can't be ordered online. They can only be sold in store. That's part of the contractual agreement between the gun dealer and Glock. Okay, they can be advertised that you sell them on your website, but you can't actually commit to the sale. Another reason I would suggest to buy the gun right away if you find it in stock and it's the gun that you're looking for, or at least put a deposit down on it so that the shop can hold it, is because when there's a graduation, especially here being in close proximity to New York City, where there's probably anywhere in the ballpark of like 30,000 active police officers, when they have graduations, they have big graduations. And when people are looking for off-duty firearms, specifically the Glock 26, which is approved for NYPD off-duty carry, the shops get flooded with new recruits that are looking for guns, and they get sold out rather quickly. So, you know, I always tell everybody, if you see it, grab it and make it happen. Otherwise, once everybody sells out and if the supplies are out, it's going to be weeks and weeks before we get a reorder. Another thing that's nice for the NYPD is that the Glock 26 happens to be on their approval list, and it's also available in a blue label version. So they're going to get a nice discount on the gun. We do take orders for Glock blue labels. If we don't have them in stock, you could leave a deposit and we can reserve a gun for you on the next order. We don't carry every single model Glock. You know, there are some unusual calibers out there. Like, I don't have every single model 10mm Glock or 40 caliber Glock or, you know, 357 SIG. Like, impossible to carry them all. But if you find something that you like, we can tell you if it's available in a blue label. You can leave us a deposit and we can order the gun for you. That's something that we do all the time, especially due to the availability issues sometimes with blue labels. That's a regular course of business for us. So we can even do phone orders if that helps you out. A lot of our customers are located in the city and it's a hassle to get here. So you could just give us a call at our number listed below, and you know, we could help you out with an order that way. Email your receipt and you can pick it up when ready. There are also other manufacturers that have a similar program, Smith & Wesson being one of them, Springfield being another. There's probably some other brands that I can't remember off the top of my head, but the Springfield, the Smith, and the Glock are definitely the most popular for us in our shop. We get reoccurring orders all the time. You know, for the Smith & Wesson Shield, I'll make a separate video about that. The Springfield XDS, okay, I'll make a separate video about that. And again, all three of those manufacturers are going to be making off-duty carry guns that are approved by NYPD and other departments. So that's a big part of our business, what we do here. Some of you guys may fall into like an in-between category where you're eligible for a blue label gun, but you're not necessarily law enforcement and not eligible for the high capacity magazines, such as firemen or someone in the armed forces, okay? Where you're eligible for the program, but you're gonna need a 10-round magazine or less, okay? And we could definitely help you out with that. We do mag swaps for all our Glocks. There's no charge for that. Since most of our blue label guns are being sold to NYPD officers, that's why I'm, keep mentioning NYPD a lot, because they buy the bulk of our blue label guns. Most of you guys are aware of this, but for those of you who are not, the NYPD has a 12-pound trigger requirement for any handgun, whether it's on duty or off duty. So when you come here to buy your off duty pistol, the Glocks are not going to have the correct trigger in them. Okay, they're not offered that way from the factory. They have to be changed after the fact. Okay, your armorer at your department will do the trigger swap there. I also want to commend Glock for the quality that they're doing on their pistol manufacturing. For a gun at the price point you're going to get it at, especially after you get your blue label discount, the quality, it's outstanding. We've sold literally thousands of Glocks in our shop, and the amount of warranty claims that we've had on Glocks were, maybe like one or two that I could think of, and the only one that's actually coming to mind right now was a gun that probably just needed to be shot and broken in a little bit, where the slide wasn't like super smoothly going into battery, like when you took your hand and released it, very slowly, which normal people wouldn't do anyway. When you're firing the gun, that slide's moving so quickly. The gun wasn't malfunctioning at all. It was just like a nitpicky customer. I would consider that not even like an issue. If it was my gun, I would just shoot it, and I would bet after 100 to 200 rounds, that would be like completely like a non-issue. I can't even think of any other problem that we've ever had with a Glock. And for being in that price point, there's nobody that can compete with them. So they're doing a really good job. And I mean, there's countless videos on YouTube of people torture testing Glocks and like basically trying to get them to malfunction, and it's incredibly difficult, you know, especially if you're using quality ammunition. You know, all the law enforcement here, they're using Spear Gold Dot hollow point ammunition, which is nickel plated brass, really high quality stuff, good primers, good powder, good quality control in the manufacture of the ammo. As long as you're using good ammo like that, I mean, you know, these law enforcement officers have a really reliable pistol that they can rely on for their own safety. And, you know, the NYPD did a pretty good job with torture testing all their off-duty firearms. The Smith & Wesson Shield, the Glock, and the Springfield XDS. Everybody's pretty happy that there's a new lineup for off-duty guns, because there was a big gap in time where they couldn't, you know, where they were all the guns on the approval list were either discontinued or very outdated. So, yeah. So congrats to Glock for just, you know, keeping up with the times. Now the Generation 5 is out, and there's some blue labels starting to show up here and there. They're just starting to trickle in. Okay, I don't think that the NYPD has approved any of the Gen 5 blue label guns for off-duty carry. So, you know, if that is something you're thinking about, you're going to have to talk to your commanders over there that could explain that a little better than I can. But I'm pretty sure that if you're law enforcement, you're going to want to stick with Generation 4.